Hi, I don't see you, but it's good to be together in spirit, in Christ's spirit. We are together in Christ. And we're looking today at God's salvation story and number 8 in our series so far. And I think I'm starting to figure things out a little bit better. And so we're going to start on the PowerPoint now. Here we go. So we've been doing God's salvation story. We're going to talk today about the land. So Joshua was Moses' assistant. And at the end of Moses' life, Joshua, after 40 years of being in the wilderness, being escaping from Egypt 40 years before, 40 years later, Joshua led the Hebrews across the Jordan River into the promised land. And they carried the Ark of the Covenant, the covenant box. And when they came to the river stopped, the people walked through in dry land. Now, God gave them a mission, an incredibly important mission. The mission is that God would deliver every single city, town, and village to the Hebrews. But they actually had to do battle, which is the hard part with each one of them. When the Lord your God brings you into the land you are entering to possess, and he drives out many nations before you, 7 nations more numerous and powerful than yourself. And there were more than 7 nations. The word 7 means absolute perfection. In other words, as many nations as there are. And when the Lord your God delivers them over to you and you defeat them, you must completely destroy them. Make no treaty with them and show them no mercy. God promised he would drive the Canaanites out. God promised the Hebrews would defeat the Canaanites. Those are pretty powerful promises. Drive them out and they're going to defeat them. But then God commands more. God commanded the Hebrews to completely destroy them. I thought God was going to drive them out. Now he says you got to completely destroy them. And God commanded the Hebrews to make no treaty with them. Okay. And finally, God commanded the Hebrews to show them no mercy. So I thought God was going to drive them all out, but now I find out that the Hebrews are going to have to fight. Show no mercy and make no treaty. So the mission for Joshua's generation is destroy the Canaanites, to prepare the land for the coming generations of Hebrews. This is the key. Why destroy them? This is why. Because they, the Canaanites, will turn your sons away from me and to worship other gods. Then the Lord's anger will burn against you, and he will swiftly destroy you. Instead, this is what you are to do. Tear down their altars for worship. Smash their sacred pillars for worship. Cut down their Asherah poles for worship. And burn their carved images for worship. So, why? Because otherwise they're going to turn your sons away from God. This mission is going to take a long time. The Lord your God will drive out these nations before you little by little. You will not be able to destroy them all at once. And otherwise, the wild animals would become too numerous for you. So he's not going to give this right away. It's going to take a long, long time. In Exodus, he says, it's not going to be a year. It's going to be a really long time. The Lord your God will give them over to you and throw them in great confusion until they're destroyed. But now we're hearing, like, how many years? It's decades. Joshua's generation and the next generation would know nothing but war. I want you to get that. That's so crazy. Joshua's generation and the next generation would know nothing but war, because they had to cleanse the land of idolatry. And so all they're going to be doing is battling. He will hand kings over to you, and you will wipe out their names under heaven. No one will be able to stand against you. You will completely destroy them. Oh my gosh, that's like, I don't want to do that. And that's what my life is going to be? Yes. You must burn up the carved images of their gods. Don't covet the silver and gold on the images, and take it for yourself, or else you will become ensnared by it. For it's an abhorrent to the Lord your God. So you're going to be battling the whole time, and you have to destroy their idols. Don't even keep the gold from them. Okay, now this is what I need you to get, and all of you, I want you to very carefully think about this. There are 2 kinds of battles. The ones Canaanite kings brought against the Hebrews and the ones which the Hebrews started. Those are very different battles. Many kings lived in Canaan in the early days, and in those early years, they brought their armies to fight against the Hebrews. So the Hebrews would be camped someplace, and Canaanite armies would come up against them. But after many battles, these kinds of battles stopped. The Hebrews defeated these kings, and these kings were no longer able to oppose them, and that meant there was a kind of rest. Listen to what this says. It says it several places. The Lord gave them rest on every side, according to all that he had sworn to their fathers. The Lord gave them rest on every side, according to all he had sworn to their fathers. None of their enemies were able to stand against them, for the Lord handed over all their enemies to them. Now, we're not talking about all of the cities and towns and villages. We're talking about all of the Canaanites coming together to bring a battle against the Hebrews. Now, if you invade their city, well, they'll fight against you. But if you don't invade their city anymore, there's rest. And so God gave them rest on every side. The second kind of battle was harder. They had to choose to go against cities, towns, and villages held by Canaanites. In other words, now these Canaanites are not actively fighting against the Hebrews, but they're still there. Temptation is not to go against them, but simply to live with them in peace. Because if I go against them, I gotta get my sword and live in a tent and go through battle and be exhausted and tired and scared and all that stuff that happens. Even though God says we're going to win the battle, you still have to fight the battle, and that's not fun. So the Hebrews might think, why should we go to war against people who are not actually harming us? Let's just let them be. That's what the Hebrews started thinking. Now, when it says God gave them rest, it means that the only battles left were the cities, towns, villages left to be conquered. That's what's left. And that's their mission. So even though Joshua's generation had battled for 45 years of warfare, the job was not completed. Joshua was old now, getting on in years, and the Lord said to him, you have become old, getting on in years, but a great deal of land remains to be possessed, and he hadn't possessed it yet. They hadn't conquered a lot of the land, even though it's been 45 years of battling. The great mission remained. Before he died, Joshua passed God's mission to the next generation. Before he died, Joshua passed God's mission to the next generation. At first, they tried to carry it out. This is what Joshua said. Choose for yourselves today the one you will worship. As for me and my family, we will worship Yahweh. And after Joshua died, the people took Joshua's challenge and they inquired of the Lord, who will be the first to fight for us against the Canaanites? And they actually fought battles. So the second generation, the first anyway, continued to conquer cities, towns, and villages. As time went on, however, the second generation stopped fighting. Listen to these verses. I think I've got 7 verses here. Listen to these verses. But Manasseh did not take possession. Judges 1:27. Manasseh is one of the tribes. When Israel became stronger, they made the Canaanites serve as forced labor, but never drove them out completely. Ooh, that's not good. Ephraim did not drive out the Canaanites. Ooh, that's not good. Ephraim is another tribe. Zebulun failed, that's another tribe, to drive out the residents of Kitron or the residents of Nahalal. So the Canaanites lived among them and served as forced labor. This is a common theme, that they made the Canaanites into slaves. The Asherites lived among the Canaanites. Asherites, or Asher, it's also a tribe, who were living in the land because they failed to drive them out. So the Asherites are living among them. They're neighbors. They're working together. Naphtali, another tribe, did not drive out the inhabitants. So now we see the pattern. The pattern is that the second generation stopped trying to drive them out. We just lived together. They just lived together, either as forced labor or just neighbors. And God did not like this. The angel of the Lord came to this second generation and confronted them. The angel of the Lord went up from Gilgal to Bochim and said, I brought you out of Egypt and led you into the land I had promised to your fathers. I also said, I will never break my covenant with you. You are not to make a covenant with the people who are living in this land, and you are to tear down their altars. They basically have made covenants by saying, you live where you live, we'll live where we live, and we're just not going to fight each other. Okay? We're just going to live in peace and harmony together. Canaanites over there, us over here, or Canaanites next door, or hey, can my son marry your daughter? But you have not obeyed me, God says. What is this you have done? Therefore, I now say, I will not drive out these people before you. They will be thorns in your side, and their gods will be a trap for you. Now, the second generation heard this. They heard it, but they didn't start conquering cities. They felt bad about it, but they didn't start conquering towns. They felt awful, but they didn't start conquering villages. And the angel of the Lord had spoken these words to all the Israelites. The people wept loudly. So they named the place Bachem and offered sacrifices there to the Lord. Yes, second generation people, they feel it. They feel it. But they didn't pick up swords. They didn't pick up javelins. They didn't say, let's go, let's conquer. Second generation cared about God's blessing, but they did not make God's mission their own mission. God's mission, destroy all the Canaanites living in the land until only Hebrews remain. That's God's mission. You may not like it, but that's his mission. Why didn't the second generation care? Perhaps because there was rest. I like rest. I like it a lot. I've been complaining and whining about all the work I have to do this week. And it's like, God really smacked me in the face and said, wait a minute. This is the mission. You're doing my mission. Stop complaining about not having rest. Rest is when Jesus comes back. Okay, got it. Right. Perhaps because they didn't want to fight any longer. They wanted to enjoy the land. You know how that is. I want to enjoy my family. I want to enjoy playing with my grandchildren. I want to enjoy taking walks in the farmland instead of picking up a sword and going to battle. I'm tired of the battles. I'm tired of the tents. I'm tired of the food. I want to live my life. Maybe that's why. Perhaps the reason that they stopped, didn't make God's mission their own mission, is because they were living with borrowed faith. What's borrowed faith? Father and mothers commit themselves to God's mission. Their children grow up loving the church music, loving the verses, loving the fellowship, letting their parents carry out the mission while they enjoy the fellowship. Oh, they help here and there. They do this work and that work. Yeah. But the mission is not their mission. They're working with their parents' mission. It's borrowed faith. It's not their own. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Love it. But not the mission. The mission was critically important. Oh my gosh, this is so important. Future generations would be forever enslaved to idolatry if the second generation rested. You see how incredibly important this mission is? Oh my goodness, it's so important. For if you turn away and cling to the rest of these nations remaining among you, and if you intermarry or associate with them and they with you, know for certain that the Lord your God will not continue to drive these nations out before you. They will become a snare and a trap for you, a scourge for your sides and thorns in your eyes until you disappear from this good land the Lord your God has given you. I mean, that's so disturbing. This is what's going to happen to your children if you do not carry out the mission. And that's exactly what happened. The second generation rested, and the third generation, well, listen what it said. That whole generation was also gathered to their ancestors. In other words, they all died. After them, another generation rose up who did not know the Lord or the works he had done for Israel. Second generation never really committed themselves to the mission of cleansing the land, so their children began worshiping idols. Listen to what their children did. The Israelites did what was evil in the Lord's sight. They worshiped the Baals and abandoned the Lord, the God of their fathers who had brought them out of Egypt. They went after other gods from the surrounding peoples and bowed down to them. They infuriated the Lord, for they abandoned him and worshipped Baal and the Ashtoreths. That's what happens. It always happens. When the second generation doesn't fulfill the mission, doesn't pursue the mission, is not committed to the mission, is just living on borrowed faith. The third generation, They have no faith. When one generation lives on the borrowed faith of their parents, the next generation embraces the ways of the world. Hallelujah. That's the second generation. Third generation, they're bowing before idols. That's the way it goes. And this became the terrible story of the Hebrews. Constant idolatry, God's constant discipline. They infuriated the Lord, for they abandoned him and worshipped Baal and the Ashereths. The Lord's anger burned against Israel. He handed them over to marauders who raided them. He sold them to the enemies around them, and they could no longer resist their enemies. They lived in misery. You read the book of Judges, it's just filled with misery. And the thing that's so heartbreaking about it is that people don't understand what it means to follow the Lord. They don't understand the Lord at all. They have no clue what it means to follow the Lord. And the whole 300-year heartbreaking history of the book of Judges, I think it's around 300 years. That whole history is just filled with the worst sin and the worst heartbreak you can imagine. Why? Because the second generation abandoned the mission so they could rest. They loved the music, the religion, the verses, and fellowship, but they let their parents carry out the mission while they stood on the sidelines and rested. Second generation couldn't pass on the mission to the third generation because faith without mission is just feeling. Jesus said to his disciples, if anyone wants to come with me, he must deny himself, take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life because of me will find it. What will it benefit a man if he gains the whole world yet loses his life? Or what will a man give in exchange for his life? That's when you take that mission, when you take up Christ's cross, or even your cross, and follow him. So 3 themes in God's salvation story. God's presence, that was last week. And we saw that God's presence is forbidden. Even though it's there in the Holy of Holies, it's forbidden. This week, we see the theme of the land. Boy, it's discouraging. Because in the theme of the land, we see that the land is completely enslaved to sin because of the unwillingness of the second generation to take the mission on. And the next message is going to be about the seed. We've seen today that possessing the land was not enough because sin still ruled in the hearts of the Hebrews. The unwillingness of the second generation to destroy completely the Canaanites prepared the way for the third generation, their children, to worship idols. Once the second generation died, the Hebrews were so influenced by their Canaanite neighbors, they continually fell into idolatry and sin. So where am I in God's mission? Isn't that a question we should be asking? Am I living in borrowed faith? Am I living on the faith of my parents or my uncle or, my uncle who's a bishop, my father who's a pastor or whatever? Is that what I'm doing? Do I know what God's mission is? And do I know what my part is? My part in what God is doing. I really hope that God will speak to your heart in this. I hope that God will help you to realize we have to do the work. We can't rest on what's been done before. We are part of the Great Commission. We're a part of what God is doing in the world. It's our responsibility. It's our calling. And that's what we have to pass on to the next generation. Well, God bless you all. Thank you so much. God bless you in all of these. Take care. Bye.